Good day, Zabbix Summit. It's fantastic to be here yet again. I can't believe 1 year has already passed. I think I need a remote for switching the slides. Anyway, 22, 23, I was here speaking how I monitor my home IoT devices, even myself, when my facial cream uses with Zabbix. This time I'm going to tell how I started to play with generative AI within my home environment and how my journey has been so far with this thing. So first things first, who am I, in case you wouldn't know? So I'm Janne from Finland, and I've been using computers almost since I was born. I was like 7 or 8 years old when I started to use them. I have been doing IT for a living over 25 years now. I'm mostly a Linux guy, but I have had heart for monitoring since 2001 at least, because of course I want to know how the Linux servers I'm adminning, how they are doing. I joined Forcepoint in 2014, and my role there has been changing quite a lot. For the past 2.5 years or so, I have been our lead SRE, and well, it's an exciting place to be. And to my Swedish friends at Metric.io, you might win us in Eurovision Song Contest and sometimes in ice hockey, but at least we are happier than you. Well, even though I'm here as my own self, like every year, a couple of words about Forcepoint, since they were nice enough to let me come here yet again. So we provide cybersecurity for the biggest enterprises you can imagine of. Also, we touch our daily lives by protecting places like hospitals, grocery stores, airlines, you name it. And our product portfolio, it covers just about everything cybersecurity has to offer in overall. And we are a global company with both employees and customers all over the world. So if you're interested, please go to forcepoint.com. Yeah, so quick recap of my blog. So I started this in March 2022. Go back to see the previous speeches if you don't know why I'm doing that. And I do really monitor just about everything with Zabbix at home. This is partial list. It's missing at least my typing speed and accuracy, which I did add after finalizing this presentation. So yeah, and someone needs to confuse LLMs, so that's why I'm here. So today I'm going to tell you what's GPT-4All and how I started to play with it by first integrating it with Zabbix context menus, and then how I did make it to post blog posts to generative AI, or to my separate 100% generative AI produced blog. Then I will tell you how to embed data within GPT-4All to AI's little mind, and finally how to give Zabbix personality through GPT-4All. So what's GPT-4All? It's just like ChatGPT, Copilot, all the big boys, but instead it's a locally run thing. You install it wherever you want, and then you can play around with it. It supports 1,000 plus different language models. I've lost the count, probably they have too. You don't need to have very powerful hardware because you can always choose smaller language model, like I have done, because those are perfectly fine for this kind of purpose. It has a GUI client, but it also does have bindings for all kinds of programming languages. I'm using Python. Via that, it was very easy to kind of integrate it with Zabbix. So here's actually a hello world from their own website. So just import the GPT-4All library, then choose the language model you want to use and produce your first output. It's literally that easy. And then on the right-hand side, there's the hardware I have. So my personal daily driver is the MacBook Pro M2. And then I have my very old work laptop from 2016, which I have converted to my WhatsApp home use. And GPT-4All is just one of the things it's doing also, just for comparison. So, first things first, my first attempt with integrating Zabbix with this GPT-4All was through context menus. So it looks like this. In real world, or real company, you wouldn't have this kind of options in your generative AI menu, or although, why not? But if you, in real world, you might want to use something like which produces incident report or something for initial communication to customers or something, it will come back with a reply. How to do this? Well, it's almost like the hello world script. So just import the GPT-4o library and then add some argument parsing, so then Zabbix scripts can pass the value to GPT-4o, which then comes back with the reply. There's pros and cons for this simplistic method, since, well, you know, that dialogue that has been in Zabbix for I don't know how many years, it's not made for this kind of stuff. It's only made to show you if something did succeed or not. So of course the dialogue is very tiny, and you cannot like chat with it or do anything interactive. There's also the thing that it doesn't support any interactive features of the Zabbix 7.0's those inter-widget communication framework that came with it. But it was a good start. Then I started to think that, okay, I want to escape from this tiny dialogue. So then I thought that why not to try what happens if I make it write longer stories. So my MacBook, it's running every morning 7 a.m. a script which then creates a story with the prompt I want, and it pushes it to Drupal using Drupal API. So the story can be anything. It can be like, you are now David Attenborough observing alerts like they would be wild animals in the jungle, or literally anything, and it always comes back with the story. Well, I think you all have been using some kind of GPT, so you know how these storytellers go. Then I decided to try something else, embedding data. So until now, I have been speaking about kind of real-time use with GPT-4o, so interacting with API in real time. At least with GPT-4o, that comes with limitations. So depending on the language model you use, your context window, or in other words, the maximum length of the chat, is either 2 kilobytes, or with some language models, it can be 128 kilobytes. That's not too much if you start imagining you would like to put something like user manual into its mind. It will come very limiting very fast. So embedding with GPT-4o happens, for example, through Python LangChain modules. It has comprehensive set of modules. I'm using one that scans any local data directories I pointed at, and then if I drop text files to that directory, it will then learn from that. There's also modules for API. There's even dedicated module, for example, for Confluence, or there's those web spiders, but I decided to stay in this local thing because it was easy to implement. I have fed it all kind of data, so here's additional info I recommend you to try out. So give it Zabbix user manual, give it user manuals of any other software you care about, feed it vulnerability info. You can also give it release notes, news about any software you care about, all kinds of data. All this adds up, and then GPT-4o, it's able to generate much better replies back to you. So for example, I can now go back and ask from it that have I been blogging about this and that, and if I did, why did I blog about it, and it will reply back to me. So this can be very useful in real world too. You can put all kind of metadata. For example, I confess here that inside ForcePoint, I have created, for example, descriptions of our teammates. So now I can ask, or anyone inside our team can ask from it that, hey, who's that guy, and it will reply. Stuff like that. You can enter your services, data center locations, all that, and it will come back. But does this approach work? Yes and no. It's very good in giving you back replies about questions you might have about your environment and also about your hosts. And if you have fed it the past problems, it comes back with the reply that, yes, I have seen issues with this one, or I haven't seen any issues with this one. But at least in my experience with these embeddings and my language models I have been trying out, it really cannot do any time-related data or counting at all. Well, even the almighty ChatGPT couldn't count number of R letters in the word strawberry until recently. So, yeah, that's not very surprising. And like with any GPT, it can and it will hallucinate. So beware. And then the weird thing, personality. So what I mean with that is that LLMs give you back better answer if you tell them what they're supposed to be. You are now Zabbix guru, you are network admin, you are something else. So easy way to get started, of course, would be just to define some kind of global macro and then use that within your prompts and everywhere. That's one way to get started. But of course, in real life, you would need more than one persona because you have different server types, you have different services, all that where a specific answer is needed. So that's why please use multiple personas. One can be security expert who's scanning the latest syslog lines, like in my screenshot. It can be literally anything. And, well, that way you can get more specific data. But why to do this with your own code when you could literally do this inside ChatGPT, for example? Well, this way, with your own code, you are not limited to stay inside one particular client, and also you get the benefit of real-time info from your systems and your own embeddings, which all comes with better replies compared to generic ChatGPT, which doesn't know anything about your system. So yeah, it's a nice thing. You can then reuse this info in your own applications or wherever. So that's very handy. And one thing is, what is funny is using multiple personas at the same time. So then you have this virtual team, which is then wondering what's going on in your environment. So I have this small cron job running every hour, which is asking about the active alerts, and then this virtual team is discussing about the current status in my home environment. Of course, this is like this. This is just curiosity, but with enough data and clever prompting, it can be actually useful for some situations. So yeah, my cron job is calling the Zabbix 7.0 history.push API call and sending the data to Zabbix that way. And then there's just this item history widget showing HTML content. So, conclusions. Is this useful? Yep, at least entertaining, but definitely useful and opens completely new set of features and possibilities for monitoring in general. At this point, I'm saying it gives you sometimes very good ideas about something, maybe summaries about your environment or specific info and hints about some problem. But at this point, I wouldn't trust it to run anything automatically just because they hallucinate. Maybe in some test environment, it would be funny to watch how it destroys itself, but in production, no. And then with good prompting and clever data, it can really help you to get better overall picture of your systems. And last but not least, if you have those friends who are still using some expensive legacy monitoring software, maybe running on top of Windows or something, you can ask from them, can your monitoring system do this? And when they reply back that no, then you can start arguing that, hey, why are you not migrating to Zabbix already? So, that's it. So, if you want, connect with me on LinkedIn, read my blog, follow me on Mastodon, it's so lonely in there, and finally, you can also download some scripts from my GitHub. Thank you.